My name is Sebastian. I'm a 40-year-old partner in an accounting business in my hometown. The events that created this story began on a sunny spring morning when I and my family, consisting of my 38-year-old wife Helene, Jenny, a 14-year-old daughter, and Robin, my 12-year-old son, were sitting around the breakfast table. It was one of those usual mornings when everybody was in a hurry. Helene and I were going to our jobs and the children to their school. Then Jenny tried to snap my newspaper and my spoon fell to the floor. I got under the table for taking it up and noted that Helene was wearing a pair of expensive socks with a small red spot on the right big toe. The spot was my fault and had caused me some problems after I had done it in a stupid painting accident. Helene did not listen to my attempts to joke about it, saying that if somebody took off her shoes, it wasn't because he was interested in her socks. About 3, Helene rang to my job and said they had some problem at her job and she had to work overtime for a couple of hours. She asked me to buy some takeaway food on my way home. 7:30, I heard her car on our driveway, pretended to be a butler, and met her at the door where I took her jacket. She kicked off her shoes and I tried to give her a hug, but to my great surprise she pushed me away and said, "Not now," which took only a few seconds, but I noted 3 strange things during that short time. First, a feared look in her face for a short moment. Second, during the short moment I've been close to her, I had noted a strange scent of soap, just as she had taken a shower before she came home. Third, the sock with the small red spot was now on her left foot. I calmed down enough to ask her, "Anything special that caused the overtime?" "No, the old usual reason, last-minute reports to the head office and problems with the computers. Even I have problems at the job. Have to go there and fix a thing I forgot to do before I went home tonight. It shouldn't take more than an hour." I think Helene was glad that I was leaving her alone for a while. At the office I wrote a letter to her. "Dear Mrs. Dahl, I have to say that your cheating on your good husband is both very unpleasant and very unexpected news for me. I really hope that you will regret your shameless behavior and save me from the duty telling him the truth. My condition for remaining silent is that you at your work tomorrow, Thursday, shall wear a black knee-long skirt and a black top as a sign of your regrets. From Friday morning and until you are otherwise told, you shall wear a thin silver bracelet, always visible, on your right ankle. Faithful as our mail system is, if mailed at the post office before 7 o'clock in the morning, will be delivered the same day." I ran some errands before going home after work on Wednesday, so Helene had time to read and hide the letter. She had obviously done that, because on Thursday morning she came to breakfast in requested black clothes. Now she had confessed her cheating, and my next problem was to find out with whom she had done it. I asked her, "Are you going to a funeral today? Who is dead?" She replied, "Fashion." "Is the damn fashion dead? Why are you mourning? We ought to save a lot of money." Our children began to laugh and Helene got angry and left the table. At my job I wrote a new letter to her, which she got on Friday. "Dear Mrs. Dahl, your serious intentions to save your marriage are leading you against total forgiveness. Keep going on the right path. Your faithful friend." On Friday morning she was wearing a silver chain around her left ankle and I asked, "What the hell is that? Isn't that a secret sign for SW and cheaters? What in the hell have you got involved in?" She got furious, blushed and shouted, "Are you totally mad? Several of the girls at the job are using those and I like to have one. Since when are you working at AW House?" Now even Jenny got angry and shouted, "What's the matter with you, Dad? Let her have it if she likes it." I left for my job without further comments. I had so many things to do during the day. The most important thing was renting an apartment. I was lucky to have useful connections, and the younger brother of one of my old classmates had 3 months left of his service in our K4 Battalion, International Peacekeeping Forces. The apartment was exactly what I needed. I paid my friend for a month, got the keys and promised to be out in good time before his brother came home. On Friday evening we had our usual family fun, and I did my best to be a jolly fellow as usual. After the kids had gone to their rooms for sleep, Helene and I shared a bottle of wine and had our usual small talk. When we got to bed she had obviously expected some and got in a bad mood when I told her that I was tired and wanted to sleep. On Saturday evening we were invited to a birthday party at one of our neighbors' gardens and had a good time until late night. Back home she was angry because I had neglected her during the evening and spent too much time with the newly divorced Sarah. No attempts from either of us, which was okay for me. On Monday I wrote a new letter for her, which she picked up on Tuesday lunchtime. I knew that because I had observed her on Thursday when she did a quick stop at home. I wrote, "Dear Mrs. Dahl, I really appreciate your honest attempts to leave your sinful behaviors behind you. This condition can be one of the last or even the last one, which depends on how well it is done. You shall this very evening, a week after your shameless cheating, ring your lover 6 times, 3 times from your cell phone to his cell phone and 3 times from your home phone to his home phone. You shall only say, "Can I speak to Bongo?" Your benefits of the calls will depend on how surprised or mad your lover will be. Your faithful friend. I hadn't much hope of anything coming out of this, but all my other efforts during the week to find out who the damn lover was had not given me the slightest clue. But my letters had her obeying my conditions, which was her confession to be guilty to the cheating. At home after work on Tuesday I told her that I had promised to jump into a bowling gang for replacing a sick guy, but I would be back no later than 9. She had no objections and I think I could hear a sigh of relief, but wasn't sure about that. Back home I told her that I had to do some job before I could go to sleep, which I really had. While taking a cup of coffee in the kitchen I checked the caller ID on the phone, which was deleted. Immediately after she said good night, I checked the hidden caller ID in my office and there were 3 outgoing calls to the same number this evening. A check on the web told me that the user had paid for having the number out of catalogs. I listened to the recorder and the man who replied to those 3 calls had replied with "hello," which was not common in this country. Almost all people reply to private calls with their name or at least pet name or phone number. My guess now was that he had gotten information about the expected calls from her after lunch. However, I knew the number and began to think about ways to find out the owner. After some thinking I decided to check the members list of the local golf club and the 1,500 phone numbers to be compared. When I was ready to give up, I found it, Wall, Anne-Marie, and on the line under hers Wall, Tommy. I logged into my personal page at the telecom company we used and found a few calls to Wall's number in the last invoice. There was even a large number of unknown cell phone numbers in the list, but most of them were probably friends to our kids, so I left them without further attention. I knew that Tommy Wall was a fellow worker to Helene at the insurance company. He was some kind of semi-boss there and I had met him a few times at some party and at the golf club. This Tommy was a very social and polite fellow in some people's opinion and an ass-kisser in many others. I had never heard him mentioned as a p-hound and Helene had never talked about him at home. Hadn't it been for that spot on her sock, she could have continued to F that a hole for ages. I got what I had been waiting for. My plans were already done and fitted in perfect for the present situation, and tomorrow should be my turn to have some action day in this sad matter. I was in a jolly mood when I went to bed. Helene was still awake and obviously waiting to get some. She got very confused when I refused her with a short and simple, "Not tonight." "What's the matter with you? Are you still mad for my bracelet? Are you really so naive that you think it means something?" "I don't care about your terrible bracelet, but I'm tired and want to sleep. Good night." Holy Lord, what have I done? Of course she knew what she had done. Was she really so stupid that she didn't understand that I suspected her of cheating, or did she think that as I hadn't said anything, I didn't know anything? The next morning our relation was so chilly that Jenny immediately noted that something was wrong between us and shouted, "What's the matter with you? For heaven's sake, don't say that even you are going to divorce just as all other damn parents." "Are you?" I replied, "Ask your mom." Helene replied her, "Of course not, we are only a bit tired of too much job to do, everything will be fine." I left the table before I got any further questions and went for my new apartment. 1 hour later I was back at my house with cardboard boxes. At 10 a car stopped at the street and the driver took me to a garage where a yellow van was waiting for us. I changed clothes to a mailman's uniform, put on a blonde wig, blonde mustache, and put on glasses. Then we left in the yellow van. At Helene's job the yellow van stopped near the main entrance. I went in and told the reception girl that I had a private mail to Tommy Wall and he had to sign the receipt. She told where I could find him and I found the door to his office. I opened the door and rushed the few steps to the desk where he was sitting. I took him by total surprise and hit him so hard on his nose that I heard how it crushed. Then I gave him several hard hits in his face so he fell to the floor, where I gave several hard kicks, which got him unconscious. I turned on the red "busy" sign outside his door and left his office. I waved hello to the reception girl and left the building. Soon I was back at my house again. When Helene came home during her lunch to check the mailbox, she noted that my car was in the driveway with an open back door. She came in to see what I was doing in the house at that time, saw the cardboard boxes and shouted, "What the hell are you doing? Moving out? Why in the hell? Because you damn shameless b have been F on the side and have such an impudence that you are bragging about it with that damn W sign on your ankle." Holy Lord, we told the children this morning that we had no plans for divorce. You told them, but you lied as usual. I love you, only you. The damn affair was a big one-time mistake and is history. Since when? Several months ago. You lying b. I know for sure that you F'd that damn only a week ago when you pretended to work overtime. Who is he? Tommy Wall. Tommy Wall? Who in the hell is he? He works at my job. Oh my God, you are F that Tommy Wall, a damn feminine licker. That damn chain on your leg must be his owner's mark, isn't it? You denied, but I knew it was a W sign and how right I was? I was naughty to her about the bracelet because her cheating with the creep Wall was so many times worse. But I began to feel a slight remorse for acting as an a-hole. Now she began to cry, snatched off the bracelet from her ankle and threw it into garbage can in the kitchen. I didn't ask further questions about Wall. Helene began to cry hysterically and begged me to forgive her and stay in the house. I told her that it was better for the kids to stay with her in the house and it was why I was leaving instead of throwing her out. I had to think about the situation. I gave her the address to my apartment and told her my condition for her to stay in the house was that neither Wall nor any other boyfriend was allowed to visit her at the house as long as I was the legal owner. She agreed and told me that her affair with Wall was already ended and that he was both the first and the last affair for her and it was the worst mistake she had ever done in all her life. She rang her job and said she had to stay at home after lunch. I couldn't keep my mouth shut and asked her, "Does Wall know that he is dumped? Or could it be my cardboard boxes which caused the dumping?" She didn't answer anything because Robin came home from school and I told him about my apartment and I was going to live there for a while. He took it rather cool and his only comment was something about that we were of the same crap as other parents. Jenny took it much harder when she came home. She demanded to know why and Helene told her the truth that she had been unfaithful with a fellow worker. Then she accused Helene for lying to her at the breakfast and rushed into her room. I went into her and told her that she and Robin were welcome to see me as often they wanted. Then I left the house with my boxes. 7 o'clock somebody rang my doorbell and there stood Monica Gustafsson, one of my two very best friends. The other one was her husband Alan. She is a very handsome natural blonde, the most beautiful woman I know. She is a little taller and little slimmer than Helene and has a sweeter smile. But she is not any stupid blonde, far from that. Today she is a respected and feared boss at one of the banks in town. We have been best friends since both families bought houses in the same area and had a baby daughter almost at the same time. She came into my living room, sat down and said, "Jenny is in a mess," and asked me to check out what the hell is going on with you and Helene. "Have you talked to Helene?" "Not yet, I want to hear your version first." I told her the truth that I had noticed a scent of soap when Helene came home from her overtime with the sock on a wrong foot a week ago and that she had now confessed having an affair with Tommy Wall. I didn't tell her anything about my own actions in that matter. The only thing I said was that I hadn't touched her since then and I stayed at home for a week because it had taken some time to fix an apartment. Then she asked me about my plans for divorce and once again I told her the truth that I had not decided anything about that yet. Monica advised me to calm down for a while and not do anything stupid. Then she invited me to a barbecue at their house Saturday evening and to be nice to Helene. She said that Alan and she refused to choose between Helene and me and expected us to remain friends as usual. I promised to be a good boy and she left after some neutral small talk. The next evening Alan called me and asked me if I needed any help. I told him that everything was under control. Then my children came to see me and they told me that Mom had cried several times and told them she wanted me to come home soon. At Friday I got an unexpected visitor at my job. My partner was away visiting a customer. Our two employed girls and I were having a coffee break when a cute blonde female police officer in uniform came in. I asked her to have a cup of coffee. She had a good laugh when Ann Lai, our young blonde employee, told her, "It's at your own risk because it is Sebastian's week to fix coffee and he usually makes a mess of it." The policewoman asked laughingly, "The boss is the coffee fixer here?" Then Ella, the other girl, replied, "Only 1 week a month, anything further would be cruel treatment of the employees." After the coffee the policewoman followed me to my office for a private talk. She told me, "A Tommy Wall has been assaulted at his office, do you know him?" "Not much, but my wife knows him much better." "How come?" "They work at the same office and used to F with each other. He is the reason to why I've left my wife. I want to have a sincere talk with him, that's for sure." "Aren't you an officer and gentleman? Is such a thing really okay for your image?" "I used to be a reservist, but today we don't have neither any other side nor much left of the defense forces. Of course, reservists are welcome in our United Nations units where the regulars don't want to go. I've been thinking about Afghanistan." "No need to run away. It doesn't help. I know how you are feeling because I have dumped my boyfriend for his cheating and it hurts like hell. You are probably right, but everything feels like a damn mess." She nodded, then continued, "The reason why I'm working with this Wall case is that my boss got a message from higher up that Wall's case must have highest priority. The boss doesn't like it because in his opinion the other 73 cases waiting for investigation are as important as that Casanova Wall. It is therefore he got a stupid blonde on the case to be sure that it remains unsolved. Do you agree that blonde girls are usually stupid?" "Of course not. Ann Lai, the young blonde girl who joked about my bad coffee, has the highest IQ at this company. None of us others can beat her in those IQ tests. Once she persuaded us to compete about a week's salary and won over both my partner and me. I'm sure that there is a sharp brain even under your blonde curls. Thank you. I hope you're right. My boss thinks I'm a stupid blonde, but hopefully not so stupid as he thinks because I have already solved this wall case. Then she gave me the sweetest smile I had seen in long time and continued, but I'm told that the boss is always right, so there's no reason for you to run for Afghanistan. Then she looked me straight in my eyes and said, promise me that you don't do any harm to that wall in the future. I can't say no to a sweet blonde. Then she gave me her card and told me to call her if I got any further information about Wall. I looked at the card and said to her, could you please write your private number? Just in case I'm beginning to date smart blondes. She gave me a sweet smile, wrote a cell number and said, sorry, but I must say no thanks as long as I'm working with this case. But who knows what can happen after that. When she had left, I felt much better again. She was exactly the right girl I wanted to date for the time being. Of course, it was playing with fire if she suspected me for sending Wall to the hospital. But she couldn't nail me without any evidence, and I didn't think she would work too hard to get any. My main reason for wanting to date her was that she was pretty, very pretty. At Monica's barbecue, Helene was already sitting in a chair in the garden, and after greeting Monica and Alan, I joined her in the chair next to hers. She was beautiful. She really wanted to show me what I was missing. She was right. I missed her like hell. After the greetings, she looked me right in my eyes and said with a low voice, I miss you. I replied, I miss you too, very much indeed. I'll sleep in the spare room at home tonight so we can have some private talk then. Let's not spoil the evening for our friends. They are working hard for getting us together again. You can bet that I'm praying for their success. We had a pleasant afternoon and evening with our friends. Of course, it was impossible to hide all my chilly feelings for Helene, but nobody could complain about my behavior during the whole evening. Back home, she asked me to sleep in our bed, but I refused, and she came into the spare room with nightcaps for us. I asked her if she and Wall had been in our house during some long lunch. She denied, and even denied being in his home. I told her that a police officer had been at my job asking questions about Wall, who had obviously been assaulted. I said that such a damn must have a whole bunch of enemies who wanted to teach him a lesson. Helene told me that he was still at the hospital and there were many rumors at her job, but nobody knew for sure. She told me that Wall had bragged about their affair to some of their fellow workers, who had told it to the police, and therefore a female police had been at her job and asked questions about her affair and about me. Helene said that she had not told more than necessary but told the truth. I asked her, can you tell the truth even to me? I'll do anything for you that can help me out from this mess. Okay, take a step forward by telling me how long your love story has gone on. I would rather say nightmare. It began at a 2-day course 2 months ago, and we have met 2 times since then. It is the worst mistake I ever made in my life. Because I got to know about it? Why did you do it? Am I so bad that you need somebody on the side? And why such a damn creep as that Wall? It had nothing to do with you. The first time was a typical confronts F. He bought me a few drinks, was a keen dancer, witty and polite. I had a good time during the evening and couldn't put a full stop to it in time. Of course, I had a terrible remorse when I came home and said to myself, never again. To my great surprise, he continued to be nice to me at the job and invited me to pleasant lunches at nice restaurants. I felt like a romantic schoolgirl again and regarded his courting and our first overtime F as some kind of bonus, which spiced up my life with you. The last time I did it with him on Tuesday last week wasn't any highlight at all. Neither with him at a motel nor with you treating me as air since then. But you had no intentions to stop it? Yes, I had, and I did. He was away to the main office a couple of days, but as soon as he was back on Thursday, I told him that it was over. We had a real quarrel because he had bragged about us to a colleague, who had gone on with the gossip. Somebody began to blackmail me. Did you pay the blackmailer? Money or other? Neither nor, it was other terms. Like wearing black skirt and that damn chain on my ankle, which gave me so much shit from you. I knew, and probably even you knew, that you were right about my damn warehouse. I can promise you that your naughty comments hurt like hell, and I really regretted my incredible stupidity to get involved in such crap. Then I switched the subject to the barbecue we had invited Monica and Alan to next Saturday. We agreed about what to do, and before she said good night and left the spare room, she promised me breakfast and lunch tomorrow. I spent the time between the meals with the children and told Helene that I should visit the house now and then for my mail. I hadn't been back at my apartment for more than 1 hour before Monica came to see me. She thanked me for being a good boy at their house and asked me if something happened when we got to our house. I told her that I slept in the spare room and asked her if Helene had told anything about her affair. She had told the same story to Monica as to me. The main reason for Monica's visit was to know if her counseling had brought Helene and me closer a solution. I told her the truth that I really hoped to be able to find a solution, but though I knew it was totally wrong, I wanted to have an affair with a cute blonde I had met the last week to get even with Helena before I could try to begin from scratch again. Monica looked me straight in my eyes and asked, "What about your own adventures during the marriage?" "Helene has been my one and only since we met. Today I really regret several of those times I've said no thanks to great chances. You did the right thing, no doubt about that. I really hope that Alan has been as strong as you in that matter. I've always envied girls with faithful husbands." "Alan?" "Yes, Alan. We've kept it as a secret and I've promised to forgive him. He has been so desperate that he has promised me to get even with some nice guy. I presume what I say to you stays between us." "Of course, but Alan is the last guy I can think about in such matters. What about yourself? You are the prettiest woman I know. Must be a piece of cake for you to get what you want, when you want it." "I've never really wanted to use Alan's promise for me to get even. Alan has never mentioned anything to me." "What has he done?" "Ask him, now he will tell you." "How did you find out Helene's cheating?" I told her about the spot on the sock and she got a good laugh. Then she asked me to skip all ideas about it with my cute girlfriend, and even skip all talk about divorce if I wanted to save my marriage, and I would be a complete idiot if I dumped Helene. I promised her to stay cool in both matters before she left to have a chat with Helene. On Tuesday evening, Marie, the female cop, rang me and told me that the Wall case was closed due to neither any witness nor any kind of evidence had been found. She asked how it was going for me. I told her the truth that I had promised my counselor to live as a monk for the time being, but if she still wanted to chat about our problems during a dinner we could do that tomorrow evening. She accepted. Wednesday evening we met at a nice restaurant and had a pleasant dinner. I was really surprised about what a gorgeous woman she was, dressed sexy but not whorish. Her boyfriend must been totally mad who cheated on such a bright and great lady. We ended up at a bar with piano music. When we parted in the taxi at her house, she gave me a hug and told me to ring her if I wanted to continue our chat. It had been a pleasant evening. We had talked about everything except Tommy Wall. And why should she discuss any of the cold cases at her job with me? The next day I sent her 10 red roses. Monica invited me for lunch and told me that Helene had been very happy when she got the news that I had promised to skip all divorce talk and revenge as long as she worked with her counseling. Helene knew that I was a man who kept my word. Then Monica got a sad expression in her face when I told her that I already regretted my promises to her because I had been out with the nice blonde, who had been a really great lady, but I had stayed cool and she had accepted that I kept my promises. But I told Monica that it had hurt like hell to not been able to at least try my luck to get even. Monica said something about all men thinking with the wrong head before she got me to promise to keep my promises to her and be okay to Helene at the barbecue on Saturday. Then the kids visited me during the evening and said that they began to feel sorry for their mom. I rang Helene Friday evening and offered to help her with the barbecue on Saturday, which she accepted. When I got there on Saturday I noted how glad our kids were when we did things together as a family. When everything was ready, Helene and I had time to sit down and talk with each other. Monica had told her about Marie and that I had promised not to do anything, which should increase our problems. She even knew about Alan and told me that had been a total surprise for her. I replied that even her own cheating had been an unexpected surprise both for me and Monica and Alan. As usual, our two families had a pleasant evening together. Later in the evening, when the kids had gone to Jenny's room for listening to music, Monica told us her suggestion how to solve our problems. The four of us should go to a nice hotel at the coast next Saturday. Dinner, dance and fix our problems once and for all. We others agreed. Monday evening Monica was at my place. She had booked 2 rooms, a table for dinner and fixed her mom as child watcher for all our kids in her house. Then she came with the totally unexpected surprise. "You and me are sharing one room and Helene and Alan are in the other." "We can't do that. Don't you understand the consequences?" "Yes I do, and I found out that it is the best solution for all of us. Alan is my best friend but he will kill me, doesn't matter what he have done." "No. I think he will beg you to do that because the alternative is much worse for him and probably for both of us. It is Eric Grenberg. Eric is the richest guy in town, charming and newly divorced." I replied, "Why him?" "Because he did some attempts on me during the last board meeting at his company. You know that I'm representing my bank there. For heaven's sake, don't do that with him. It is up to you. I've been waiting for the right opportunity since Alan played his game. Of course, you are my first choice but I knew you were impossible and I didn't wanted to destroy the friendship to Helene by asking you. But after Helene playing her games and you met Marie and are hot on her, things are quite different. Aren't they?" "Yes indeed, but I can't see my best friend." "You'll save your marriage and Alan's and mine as well. God only knows what will happen if you'll have an affair with Marie and I with Eric. Or can our marriages survive if we just forgive our cheating spouses? Who knows? Aren't Helene and Alan rewarded with an extra cheating? Who cares? They will feel as leftovers. What makes you think it will work? We forget a secret which will keep us closer together. Okay, I'm in, if it is okay with Alan. I must talk with him. She left and I thought that strange things happen even in our days. Monica is the most beautiful woman I know. I've seen her topless and even naked a few times when our families had rented a summer house together. But neither I, nor Alan had ever done any attempts to go further than expected with each other's wives. We had put the friendship in the first place. I knew that I should regret the rest of my life if I said no thanks to the one night with the most gorgeous woman I knew. I should go for it. Marie and I had a dinner again, and this time we talked most of her problems. I told her that Helene and I should decide about our future on Saturday, but we could still be friends even if Helene and I choose to go on with the marriage. Then Alan rang me. He had let Monica take care of the concealing and therefore kept a low profile. I asked him, what in the hell happened to you, which put you in such a damn mess? I wish I could tell you. You know, my last visit to a trade show in Germany. A colleague and I met two cute Norwegian ladies at our hotel, had a pleasant evening together, went too far with them, and she who slept with me had put her underwear in my suitcase. Monica found them and took it very cool. Instead of the expected screaming and divorce talk, she just said, I will wait and see what to do if I choose to do something. In my desperation, I offered her a free night if she would forgive me. And now that damn Grenberg is making attempts on her and she has become interested. It was me who suggested to her that you are a much better choice than Grenberg because it would even solve Helene's guilt. What do you say? What can I say? Incredible situation, indeed. Yes, but please do me a favor and do it. Do it for Helene and do it for me. It's up to you to get our lives back to normal again. My best friend begged me to F his wife, the most beautiful woman I know. What could I do? It was my duty to help him. I asked him, can you really skip all hard feelings if I'll do it? Of course, for heaven's sake, I'm begging you to save my marriage. Okay, I'll do it. But never forget it was your idea. I rang Monica's cell phone and told her my okay to the voicemail. She rang me 1 hour later and told me the conditions. Not a word to anybody. Forgive Helene, go back home, be faithful to her and never harass her for the cheating. No questions to Helene and Alan about their night. Understand that it is a one-time happening. She promised to forgive Alan, never harass him for his affair, be faithful to him and not ask him or Helene anything about their night together. I accepted. Saturday evening dinner at the famous hotel was great. The girls had dressed up and were really gorgeous. All four of us were in a jolly mood during the dinner and even afterwards when we danced a few tunes in the bar. None of us spoke about the coming night, but all of us felt the tension and nobody objected when Monica said, let's take night. Outside Monica and Alan's room, she and I said, good night, to the others and went in. When inside, Monica took a bottle of champagne from her bag, opened it and poured up in 2 glasses, gave one to me, lifted hers and said, for saved marriages. I replied, for saved marriages. And gave her a hug. She took off her dress and there she stood with her high heels still undressed in a black lace underwear. I switched off most of the lights and kissed her. She replied the kiss with such an intensity that her feelings for me must have been much hotter than the revenge. She saw it in my eyes that I understood what was going on. She whispered in my ear, I love you. I replied, I love you too. Then I gave her an intense kiss, took off her bra and kissed her. When she was down on the bed we kissed. Afterwards, when sitting on the bed with champagne glasses again, we had a serious talk and agreed that it was our glory night and we had no reason to regret what we did. She confessed that her revenge wasn't the only reason for her to want me, and I confessed her that tonight I got my secret dream fulfilled. We agreed that our love story had to turn back to friendship again when we left this room for breakfast in the morning, but until then the night was ours. To be honest, I didn't care a shit about what Helene and Alan did in the other room. We didn't say a word about them. I think we felt that it wasn't our problem what they did because it was a cheap price to pay for our glory night. The next was slower, more sensitive, and lasted much longer than the first time. Afterwards, once again sitting with our champagne glasses, Monica told me that Alan's one-night cheating had hurt her like hell, and hadn't I accepted her proposition she would have accepted Eric's invitation for an affair, which could have been a very serious matter for her marriage. She was a bit worried that Eric would not accept her "no, I love my husband" and stop his efforts to seduce her. I had an idea and suggested we have both Eric and Marie invited for a dinner and hopefully Cupid would fix the rest. Monica found it well worth an attempt and thanked me with one further great F before we fell asleep. Monica had the alarm in her cell phone set to wake up us early in the morning, so we had a good time for intensive before it was time for showers and meeting our spouses at breakfast. Before we left the room we agreed that our glory night had been a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and we should keep all our promises to our spouses and remain as best friends. Helene and Alan were already sitting at a table in the breakfast room when we came there. Everybody said good morning, but not much more during the whole meal. It was a new and strange situation for all of us, but hopefully we had saved two usually happy marriages from unwanted divorces. We left together for our rooms. Inside our room Helene began to cry and asked me, "Are you happy now when you've got what you probably dreamed about for years? Why should I been dreaming about that a whole wall or Alan cheating Monica? But I really hope that what I did has saved two marriages. Monica has forgiven Alan and saved their marriage, and I really hope that even our marriage is saved, but it is up to you now if you want me back or not. Monica told me you've been dating some Marie. What about her?" "Nothing happened. You can thank Monica for that. She persuaded me to wait with such things until you and I made a serious attempt to clear up our problems. Do you think we have? I sincerely hope so." Now she came closer, gave me a real hug and said, "Welcome back." I kissed her for the first time in several weeks and whispered in her ear, "I love you, Helene." She looked me in my eyes and replied, "I love you. Can you forgive me?" "Yes, and I'll keep my promises to never ask you anything about neither Wall nor the last night with Alan. From now on I'll be looking forward, not back." Then I can tell you that nothing happened with Alan. To my great relief he suggested us to skip it and I had no objections. I think both of us had a terrible remorse for what we already had done. I was surprised, really surprised. Alan had said, "No thanks to my handsome wife," though he knew what his own wife and I did in the other room. Good for me, but it did the mess even worse. I had seen my best friend, but it was he who had begged me to do that, and if I had said no thanks to his wife, she would have given in for Eric's courting. I told Helene, "I'm grateful." Now she took my hand, pulled me the few steps to the bed, lay down on her back and said with a soft voice, "Love me." I did. I did it in a very different and much more tender way than I had done with Monica. Helene had taken a serious humiliation for getting me back. I did my best to comfort her and convince her that she had done the right thing. I kissed and caressed her for a long time before I began to undress us very slowly and carefully and felt that we had saved our marriage. When Tommy Wall came home from the hospital, he found all his belongings in 2 suitcases and 5 cardboard boxes. His wife had succeeded to rent a 1-room apartment for him and gave him the keys and divorce papers. Back home from our hotel visit, Helene and I were greeted by happy children and promised them to be a real family again. Jenny told us that we were acting as newlyweds. We had feared that our friendship with Monica and Alan should not survive the hotel night, but it did to everybody's great pleasure. None of us ever mentioned anything about it. Even Monica's business friend dinner went better than expected. She had invited several of her business friends with spouses. I was invited as accountant. Marie and Eric were told about each other when they were invited and both found it exciting. I'm sure neither of them ever regretted that they accepted the invitation because they are dating frequently nowadays and have began talking about Marie moving into Eric's house. Soon after the dinner, Eric was a good friend with both Alan and me, and to my great pleasure both Helene and Monica became good friends with Marie.